All right. Today's video is not going to be about my book. Actually, it's going to be about a different book that I wrote maybe about 12 years ago and decided on not publishing it uh, for sale or for free because of moral concerns, honestly, and ethical concerns. Mostly because a lot of times people take knowledge, they rehash it, and they abuse that knowledge. And for this one, actually, my concern is more of the abuse that would happen towards employees rather than the employer, or basically the people who are moving abroad. So this video is about Americans working abroad. And before I start, I do want to mention I am not sponsored. I do not gain anything by any of the resources I'm going to put down in the links. I will update it accordingly because I did not prepare for this as much as I probably should have. But first of all, before you move anywhere, I highly recommend that you check out this website. And it's called Numbeo. I've been calling it Numbrero for years, which is wrong and has always confused people when I'm trying to advise them on the website. So then I just never close the website on my phone, especially since I'm always looking up and comparing my current city's cost of living versus other cities and stuff like that. I do like this website a lot because you can pick the city or the country. The data is not 100% accurate and up to date. It is a generalization because it is user feedback input. And that's another reason I've never promoted it outside of people I know directly because of my concern that some people will go in there, some bad actors will go in there. And let's say if you're a city, a government body, and you want to push tourism in your city, you may make it appear as if your city is cheaper to live in, or the opposite, where you kind of want to bring a certain class to your city, right? So I've always been a little paranoid about that. I have my own personal reasons and justifications, but honestly, if a bunch of Americans are going to be leaving, I would rather you guys know what the hell is going on than kind of jumping in head first and ruining it for yourself, for your families, and for, well, the rest of us who have been working abroad. I have been working abroad for 15 plus years. Um, I typically don't go back home except every 2 to 4 years, and it's usually less than a month for tax reasons, which is something I'll cover in a different video. So, other than this, honestly, everything else is, I'm just going to talk about it. So, you need to negotiate, okay? Americans are not accustomed to negotiating prices. They're not accustomed to negotiating their salaries or their benefits or their rent or their flight reimbursement, because flight reimbursement isn't really a thing in the US. Do not agree to terms you cannot handle for at least the length of your contract, right? If you are from, let's say, South Carolina, and you take a job up in New York, and then you don't like New York or you don't like your job, well, you can drive back home, right? You can get a, what is it? I mean, I'm talking pre-inflation prices here, what, less than $200 flight back home. But if you take a job somewhere in Southeast Asia or somewhere in Europe or anywhere really, it's going to cost you possibly a few $1,000s to get back home. So that is no joke. Like, what is the point of you going all the way there only to find out? So you need to make sure that at least what's on paper you can agree to, right? Because you can't predict the rest unless you've been there, unless you've lived there, which is also another thing I'll get to in another video. There are a few countries slash cities in the world where it's amazing to go as a tourist, but is life draining if you go to live and work there. For example, Japan, for example, Turkey. These are amazing cities to go as a tourist, or sorry, countries to go as a tourist. They are horrid places to work. The work condition, the hours, the salaries, it does not equate. Okay. So back to what I was saying. Negotiate, everything in advance. Do not make any presumptions. Do not go on a handshake or a, my friend referred me to or whatever. And I'll later on I'll get into the like if you're going there not because you want to work there as much as you just want an opportunity to be there. Well, that's a very different thing. That's not what we're talking about right now. What we're talking about are people who are looking for alternative work opportunities that they would take that same work opportunity if it was offered to them in the US, but because of the way things are, they're actually seeking work elsewhere. All right. So, something else. The majority of the world does not function on the credit system. Yes, this is a massive, massive for a lot of Americans when they go to work abroad. See, most of the world still works on cash, and you can't credit cash, right? Even if you do get a bank card, it will only allow you to spend the amount you have on your bank card. There are no overdraft protections. There's nothing. You go to the place, you go to pay. If you have the money, you can buy it. You do not have the money, you cannot buy it. There's no, okay, wait, let me try this card. There's nothing. There's no other option. First of all, a lot of places will charge you fees. So, for example, if I have a US credit card and I go to Thailand, right? And when you're on vacation, it's very different because you're not going to be spending a long bit of time there. But when you're working there, it adds up, right? So you hit up 3% from the Thai side and you get hit up 3%. That's 6% credit on your credit card. And then on top of that, if you don't make your payments in time because you are working outside of the country and getting money from where you are to back to the US is not as simple as would hope it would be, right? And if you do transactions, typical transactions, you're going to pay fees on that. So if you pay another 6% on their, your transfer wherever you're working back to the States, and then if you don't make it in time, you pay interest on your credit card, it adds up. And then next thing you know, honestly, you're like, wait a second. I probably have watched this video and figured shit out before. Okay. I do apologize about the profanity. You know, my videos aren't going to get monetized anyways, so who cares? All right. Next. Do not break your contract unless it is 100% necessary. You will get blacklisted and a travel ban. That is something a lot of people do not know about. A, because it is extremely rare, and B, because typically when you get to that point and you come back home, you don't tell people you got blacklisted. You don't tell people, well, I went and worked in China for 3 months and I broke my contract and now I can never go back to China or Hong Kong or Macau or any other country that China is going to take back. Let's get into that in another video. Right. So that's the thing. A lot of people are not very upfront. They say, oh, whatever. So if you have to break your contract, make sure you get all of your pay, your severance, your whatever, out your bank accounts. Take care of everything as if you're never going to be there again. Secondly, do not give the heads up until you are 100% ready for your foot to be out the door. Because if you, in certain cultures, if you tell an employer that you are leaving, then that's it, right? Okay. Why are you leaving? Do you know why you are leaving? You are going halfway across the world. I'm not saying this to discourage you, as much as it's more of a self-reflection. Do you actually know why you're willing to do this? Saying, oh, Trump is president and the dollar is crashing and da 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 da. Right. But that's not your reason. That's the social reason. That's what's happening around you. And for the people who are not self-aware enough to know the difference, I'll link a video down for that because honestly, that's a discussion for another day. But I there's this YouTuber. I don't like his username, but I will be linking his video in the description because yeah, he breaks it down pretty well. Another thing, I already brought this up. When you are abroad, there's no just pack up and leave. You're talking about having to either abandon your personal belongings in the country that you're in, right? Or being put in a situation where you get evicted from the place that you're living. This is very true if your living arrangements have been set by your employer. This is why I highly, highly, highly recommend negotiating a rental reimbursement or some type of compensation for rent rather than having your employer set you up with a place. Because if the contract is under their name and there's any disagreement, well, not only could you lose your job, but when you lose your job, you're also out on the street. And you can say, well, yes, there are laws, and those laws are typically only enforced for the locals, for the people who are from that country. Why? Well, because they have the time and money to wait for the law and the court and all of this to happen. I'm currently going through something like that myself. Fortunately for me, I am stubborn and patient enough to wait it out, but not everybody is in that situation, you know? So there you go. Let's see. Your actions have an impact on other Americans who already work abroad. Oh, yes. Okay, so this is one of those things. And again, goes into why I never published the book initially. So one time when I was in Shanghai, I saw a bunch of Americans acting like idiots. And I called them out and I was like, go home. I don't care where you're home. Go to your apartment, go back to America, whatever. But stop acting like a fool in the street because you make the locals look at us in a negative light. And to my Canadian friends out there, stop getting in trouble and claiming you're American and making us look bad because you don't want to make Canada look bad. You know who you are. Yes, I'm talking to you. All right. Oh, yeah. And my Russian guys, too. This is too funny, but you cannot even comprehend how many times I've seen Russian guys get in trouble, especially here in Asia, and when somebody asks where are they from, they say they're from America until the police show up and then they have to show their passports. And that's how you end up finding out they're lying. The reason they get away with it as well because a good portion of Russians are tall, white, blonde, blue eyed, typical, like what you think an American is from the perspective of an Asian. So, yeah, yeah. So, as an American who has been living and working abroad for a very long time, please, please do not do this. Also, please don't become homeless abroad, right? As I have advised every single person who has ever asked me, make sure you have at least $3,000 to $5,000 in cash in a split between cash and in an account that you have easy access to from the moment you leave. If you do not have access to it, find a way to get it. If the reason you are leaving is because you're like, hey, but that's why I'm leaving. I need a job, blah, 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 blah. Well, negotiate that. I'm not joking. Literally, not this, not my previous job, but the one before that, because it was right after COVID. Basically, everybody was broke when we got hired. A good portion of us, we were 54 new hires, and 20 odd of us did not have sufficient capital to be able to live that first month. But because we had discussed it in a group and we're like, hey, listen, if only one of us talks about this, it's going to be an issue. But if we all kind of bring it up, they're going to be put in a situation where they're going to have to either give us an advance when we land. Don't be one of these weirdos. And again, this is why I'm so cautious about putting this information out there. Do not be one of these people who go out there and try to scam and do all this to take advantage of the situation. Actually, it's one of the reasons a lot of employers nowadays, they won't even settle your visa until you're at least in the country because they've been through a bunch of people who've tried to do this where they're like, yeah, I'm ready, I'm coming, blah, but I can't get there, I need a cash advance, and then they screwed it up for all of us. So we were already all in the country. That was one advantage. And two, it was a good portion of us that were negotiating this, and they did. They gave us a cash advance, and it was wonderful. I'm not even joking because I didn't come here by myself. I came here with my wife and my young child. So it literally saved us. And I wasn't the only one. But that's because we negotiated. All right. Before I end this, please let this be a takeaway. Know why you are doing it. Yeah, I brought that up. Everyone, not everyone has the capacity to leave and work abroad. Yes, this is about more about your mental state, your mentality towards other cultures, and your personal ability to be alone. Right, I know people who have been like super excited about taking like a job in Japan and whatever it is. A lot of times people lean towards like the JET program and teaching English and whatnot as ESL teachers. But the JET program will not let you choose where. You can request, but they typically deny it. Like unless you are somebody special who maybe has a very high degree background and whatnot, and basically they want you more than you want them type of situation. But typically the JET program will set you up in the middle of nowhere. Similar thing goes for China. Do not take these jobs out in the middle of nowhere, right? And think that you're going to live the same lifestyle you would if you were in a tier 1 city. Do your research. Find out if you are somebody who needs social interaction with other expats, then do not take a city out. Do not take a job where there aren't communities for that. On the opposite end, if you're going there for the cultural reasons, then it's probably better that you do take a job somewhere away from the city, away from all of that, because they'll give you the opportunity. So this is one of the major differences between my cousin and I. We were both initially based in Shanghai. I loved Shanghai. I did not want to leave. And when I did eventually leave about 5 years after that, I was a 28-minute bullet train away from Shanghai because I couldn't bear to think being even 30 minutes away from Shanghai, while my cousin went and took jobs all over China and he immersed himself. But he came back not only fluent in Mandarin, but in dialects, and it was quite impressive. I'll get into that in another video, but yeah, so everybody has their advantages and disadvantages, but knowing what you want before you set out and having a general idea and doing some research is really important. Also, don't be that annoying person who's like, oh, I have a friend who lives there. I'm going to call them and ask them. You can do that at first, but trust me, you are not the first friend and you are neither, and you won't be the last person to reach out to them. So you cannot bug them all the time, asking a million questions. Do some of your own research. The internet exists for a reason. People are out there for a reason. I'm making these videos for a reason. There are plenty of other ones. Cross-reference your stuff, right? There's a lot of it perspective, where it comes from, for example, I hate to bring race into the issue, but your racial and ethnicity have an effect on your job opportunities, on your financial opportunities. Oh, but it shouldn't be like that. That's illegal in America. You're looking for a job not in the United States. If you are somebody who is a first generation American or a newly citizen to the United States and you have a very heavy accent, I'll be honest with you, no matter what the condition is, unless you're going back to your home country and you have stuff set up there where you're like, using contacts, you are going to have a bad experience working abroad because they're going to know. And that's going to make you less desirable, which means they'll most likely offer you half or a third of what they would for a normal person. And they have a legal right to do that because there is no legal requirements when it comes to hiring expats in comparison to hiring locals, because the minimum wage typically for locals is set and the minimum wage for expats is set. And let me tell you something, there is a massive difference. It is extreme, okay? Next, if you're doing an experience, okay. I guess for if you're leaving specifically from a job, yeah, okay. All right, I covered everything. Like, share, subscribe. I will make follow-up videos based on the stuff that I said I was going to, and like I said, I'll put the links down below. Thanks for watching. Oh, also, for the people who are direct messaging me about my hair color, just comment below. If you're gonna trash talk, at least do it in public.